This is ABC-7 Extra.
Welcome to ABC-7 Extra Sunday edition. I'm Saul Sainz. Tonight, a special edition of ABC-7 Extra. We will actually take you on board of this U.S. Customs and Border Protection helicopter and give you a tour of the U.S.-Mexico border. We'll let you see what agents see as they are the bird's eye view of what boots on the ground are watching or trying to get to as people are trying to cross over onto the U.S. side.
The way we fly our hours here, each one of our A-stars here will be completely torn down and rebuilt every year.
Our ABC-7 Sunday Extra crew was met on the ground by U.S. Customs and Border Protection Air Operation Director John Stonehouse. Stonehouse is in charge of all flight operations in the El Paso air sector, which covers 800 miles and 4 states: West Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and parts of Oklahoma. Stonehouse tells me this is CBP's workhorse, the Airbus helicopter, a short-range turbine-powered helicopter. On a weekly basis, El Paso Air Branch is scheduled to conduct 61 border enforcement missions within its area. But for this mission, Director Stonehouse approved the use of this Black Hawk medium-range, all-weather, rotary-wing tactical aircraft. This type of military helicopter was reintroduced to the El Paso's CBP fleet just last year after a 12-year hiatus. Officials say it's faster, has higher endurance, and can carry more people than other choppers, making their mission more effective. This one is used for surveillance using 4 sets of eyes on board: the pilot, the co-pilot, and 2 CBP officers behind them. Once strapped in, we start moving to our liftoff point. Producer and photographer Jesus Rodriguez captures the moment the Black Hawk goes airborne. This is a bird's eye view from inside the Black Hawk over the Santa Teresa area, a hotspot for migrants crossing into the U.S. Santa Teresa and Sunland Park are a hotspot for illegal crossings into the U.S., the second highest behind the Rio Grande Valley.
Can you give us a breakdown of what it is that we're going to be looking for, what we'll be seeing? So as we transition out, once we get toward the Cristo Rey area, as we come up, we're going to be listening to the radios also to see if anybody's actively working anything. If that happens, then we'll go up, we'll let them know we're available for calls, and then we'll start actively looking for non-U.S. citizens trying to enter the United States illegally.
The area around Mount Cristo Rey is a popular point of entry because there is no border barrier in some areas because of the rough terrain. The pilot gives us a spin around the treacherous mountain area where Stonehouse tells me the undocumented immigrants are known to hide.
The Cristo Rey area looks pretty flat from down below, but when you get up here, there's a lot of crevices where people will hide, and so it's not uncommon for 4, 5, 6 people to be hiding in the different crevices and the different terrain up here.
The pilot then traces the path along the border barrier. That's the U.S.-Mexico border. Stonehouse explains CBP is not permitted to cross into Mexico unless previously authorized.
A lot of the times we'll actually see them staging south.
The pilot spots what agents believe is a point of entry where migrants gather before illegally crossing into the U.S., a cluster of what's left of heavy foot traffic in a remote desert area near the border barrier. According to the director of El Paso Air Branch, these footprints are not supposed to be here because as you look over the horizon, there's nothing around for miles.
And as you can see from the vastness out in front of us, there's no reason for those to be there. Not in that amount of volume. Which means someone might have crossed today? Today, yesterday.
We circle back around because agents wanted to show us a ladder on the U.S. side, not far from the footprints on the Mexico side. To the untrained eye, it's impossible to see.
They'll build ladders out of rebar, and they'll throw them across the fence, and they'll climb up and over that, and then they'll jump from the other side, or they will try to lower somebody down. We get a lot of leg, back, knee injuries, ankle injuries out here.
This air patrol also helps the injured. According to CBP Air and Marine numbers, officers like these conducted as many as 184 search and rescue efforts across the nation in fiscal year 2020. But in 2021, that number exploded to 339. However, choppers like this one are not a medevac, meaning they cannot transport the patient to a hospital.
We don't have advanced life support on our aircraft. So what do you do? Just spot it for medevac and then they'll come over and pick them up? Yeah, so we'll spot a location for medevac. We'll relay that information to them. But depending on the medevac rules, they might not land off field. So
But it's not just migrants, team members on this helicopter locate and help. They help U.S. citizens as well. This is video of a hiker rescue on the Franklin Mountains from March, a unique task for a specialized aircraft. Notice only the front wheels of the helicopter rest on the mountainside while rescue workers load the victim onto the helicopter. Back on the ground, it'll be a while before Customs and Border Protection can determine if these same migrants apprehended along the road waiting to be picked up by a driver are the same that crossed over the border barrier using that makeshift ladder. The southern border has seen an overwhelming amount of undocumented immigrants this fiscal year. New numbers released just last week show a record 845,000 people have been caught crossing the border illegally so far this fiscal year, and there are 2 months still to go. These agents feel their mission is more urgent than ever. When we come back, we'll talk to the director of the El Paso Air Branch for U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
You've got enough to think about maintaining. Good thing the all-new 2022 Volkswagen Taos has a lower cost of maintenance than Toyota RAV4. Come into your Volkswagen dealer today and lease the all-new 2022 Taos S for just $229 a month.
Think premium can't be capable? Think again. Introducing the first ever AT4 lineup. Premium and capable. That's professional grade from GMC.
Or get over $3,500 purchase cash on this 2021 Sierra Light Duty Crew Cab Texas Edition. Plus, current eligible GMC owners get an additional $250 purchase allowance.
See your El Paso Las Cruces GMC dealers.
Forecast, plenty of sunshine through today with seasonal.
Rush hour will never feel the same. Experience thrilling performance from our entire line of vehicles at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event.
Get special offers on the 2021 RX 350.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Trade-in value is heating up right now. Come see us and trade up at Casa Buick GMC.
It's the summer of big value, and your old ride is your ticket to a hot new Buick or GMC.
Get $2,500 off MSRP on a GMC Sierra 1500. Trade-in value is scorching hot, but it will cool down. Bring us your car and get paid today.
Get more for your trade-in at Casa Buick GMC.
Home of the nice guys.
Yeah!
You've got enough to think about maintaining. Good thing the all-new 2022 Volkswagen Taos has a lower cost of maintenance than Toyota RAV4. Come into your Volkswagen dealer today and lease the all-new 2022 Taos S for just $229 a month.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. We just landed off this chopper that gave us a tour of the U.S.-Mexico border. And joining us now is John Stonehouse, Director, El Paso Branch of U.S. Border Protection, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. Also, for giving us that great tour that we just had. Now, give us a brief description of what it is that you all are looking for when you do go up on this chopper and go up and down the U.S.-Mexico border.
Well, Sal, we're glad you could come out and join us today, and we're glad we could make this happen. As we go out on our normal patrols, we're looking for really what's out of the ordinary. As we go and we get in line with the U.S.-Mexico border, a lot of times we're looking for bright clothes, backpacks, footprints, trails. It could be a dust trail from a vehicle that's bringing up someone to attempt an illegal entry into the United States. We also work very closely with our brothers and sisters from the United States Border Patrol. Sometimes they will already be tracking something, and as they call us for support, we will roll in there and we will then provide them the eyes in the sky and help them locate the different personnel.
Now, how often do these choppers go up? Both this one and, of course, the workhorse that's behind me.
So the AS-350, which is the one behind you, will operate 365 days a year, and we usually launch about 6 flights a day of that specific aircraft out of this location.
And on the one that we were at, we had actually 4 sets of eyes looking up and down the border. We had the pilot, the co-pilot, and of course 2 men on each side.
Yeah, that's the UH-60, which is directly behind me. That is more of our response platform or our rescue platform that we utilize.
Talk to me about some of the rescues that you've been on. As a matter of fact, just today alone, you went up early at 6 o'clock in the morning and you had spotted something. Describe that for me.
Yeah, so one of our aircraft, one of our workhorses went out earlier today. They spotted a group coming across. They utilized their aircraft to go in and assist with Border Patrol to effect an apprehension of non-U.S. citizens attempting to enter the United States illegally.
And also, we also saw, one of the things that we saw was a large cluster of footprints. What did that indicate to you?
So what we'll do is we can track those on the south side of the border, and we can follow those up to a point of the fence where they will climb the fence. What we're also looking for is they will make rebar ladders that they will throw over our fence structure, our wall structure. They will climb up, and sometimes they'll drop or they'll lower themselves, or they will just descend on the other side.
Now, the flight that we were on, was it a typical flight, or do you see more action or less action?
So we usually see more activity than what we saw today. We got out there a little bit later today. We saw the aftermath of a lot of the activity. The dark footprints that we saw from the air, those are recent footprints. If they're a lighter color, that will be from the sand blowing the footprint over and kind of dusting it out. But the fact that we could see those footprints so easily from the air, those were fresh. And you saw them actually come up to the fence, the wall, and then I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a ladder off to the side made of rebar where they had thrown that across the fence and climbed over.
And typically in a situation like this, what you will see, or at least based on your description, is that they are successful in climbing over and then they make their way over to the highway?
Yeah, so one of the areas, especially in the Santa Teresa, New Mexico area, is its close proximity to Highway 9. At some parts where we got out there, it was less than 400 yards from the international boundary to the highway, which is a hard pack, of course, easier to move vehicles in and out. So what we'll see the footprints on the south side, and then we'll see the footprints on the north side. If we were the ones to discover that, we would contact the United States Border Patrol, the troops on the ground. They would then track that, and then we would go ahead and attempt to leapfrog. So we might go 300-400 yards ahead and look to see in a kind of a racetrack pattern back to see if we can find the people.
So you are essentially the eyes in the sky, letting the folks on the ground, your agents on the ground, letting them know where it is that they need to get to?
Absolutely. Truly the bird's eye view is the advantage we have. We can describe it, we can call out mile markers, monument markers to the agents on the ground, and then set up a perimeter and then shrink the perimeter down to effect the apprehension.
So explain that, shrink the perimeter down. What do? You essentially hover around?
So what we'll do is we'll stay airborne, and then we will coordinate with BP agents, and they will put just like 4 points of contact on the ground, and then you will shrink imagine putting a square out in the middle of the desert, and then gradually shrinking that square with us overhead, looking for anybody for movement. And that's the main thing we're going to focus on, is movement. As that box gets shrunk, people will move, and then we're going to find the movement.
And when you see the movement and the people who are on the ground, the non-U.S. citizens and migrants, do they at any point in time try to flee or try to escape?
Well, we get a variety. Some will, some won't. It just depends on the person. And usually it also will depend on if they've been apprehended before, if they're a convicted criminal, which, as you know, U.S. Border Patrol and Department of Homeland Security has apprehended over 9,000 this fiscal year alone of known criminals trying to re-enter the United States.
Is this the most activity you've seen in the time that you've been here?
In El Paso, absolutely.
Yeah.
Since about February, it's been astronomical numbers for us. The Santa Teresa, New Mexico station is one of the either number 2 or number 3 station in the nation for non-citizen activity.
You likely, I guess, in a usual sense, you don't actually make contact with the non-U.S. citizens, the migrants, right? You don't make contact with them.
That is correct. Most of the time we stay airborne because we provide that airborne picture to the people on the ground, and we relay that via radio transmission, and then it just gives us a better picture. Now, sometimes we will land in the event of a rescue or someone in serious need of removal.
How essential is that eye in the sky for the boots on the ground?
It's truly a force multiplier. I mean, I've been one of those agents on the ground. I've been one of the people on the ground, and the aircraft, what it can see and what it can do And it also has an effect on the people attempting to gain entry into the United States. It's not uncommon for us to be out on patrol and going down the border, and the people who have already tried to get north will run back south because they know that the chance of successful illegal entry into the United States with an aircraft overhead is much smaller.
All right, Director, we're going to take a really quick break. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. What we're going to talk about in our next segment are some of the rescues that Director Stonehouse has been involved with. We'll be right back.
The Olympic Games are on, and Toyota has great deals on Camry, Highlander, RAV4, and more.
Qualified buyers get 2.49% APR financing for 72 months on a new 2021 Tacoma.
But it all ends September 7th.
Toyota, let's go places.
At LongJohnSilvers.com, you can order online and sail past the line. Oh, and see prize. Get $5 off with promo code 8FAMILY5 when you order online at LongJohnSilvers.com. Long John Silvers.
Unlock a summer of possibilities in a new Chevy. Expand your options and your perspective. Find new summer adventures. Find new roads.
Enjoy the open road and make no monthly payments for 90 days on select popular Chevy SUVs. Plus, get interest-free financing for 72 months when you finance with GM Financial. Chevy drives Texas. Find new roads.
How do you make something that's already fresh even fresher? By adding fresh new things, like crisp pico de gallo for a little kick. Good thing there's been limited time pico de gallo burger at Whataburger. Available by drive-thru, curbside, and delivery.
Oscar Leaser's Hyundai of El Paso is proud to celebrate our 20th anniversary. We've served the El Paso community for 2 decades and sold over 50,000 new and used vehicles. So we're celebrating with 20 years worth of savings, like 0% APR for 60 months. That's no interest for 60 months on new Elantras, Sonatas, and Konas. And all new Hyundais have 0 down available. That's 0 cash out of pocket or get no payments for 90 days. Thank you, El Paso, for letting Oscar Leaser's Hyundai of El Paso serve you for 20 years.
The Olympic Games are on, and Toyota has great deals on Camry, Highlander, RAV4, and more.
During the national sales event, get $750 customer cash on a new 2021 Highlander.
But it all ends September 7th.
Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. Joining us again is Director Stonehouse with U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Let's talk about some of those rescues that you all have been on. You've been on some pretty precarious rescues, haven't you?
Absolutely. The aircraft behind us actually was involved in a Franklin Mountain rescue back in April of a U.S. citizen who had injured her knee out hiking. The aircraft was called in with the assistance from El Paso Fire Department, and they coordinated the litter for the individual, and then we landed with just the 2 main wheels on the mountaintop with the tail hanging over, and our pilots had to hold that hover for about 10 minutes as they loaded the litter with the injured person onto the aircraft, and then we departed the mountaintop and got them down to medical services.
How difficult is that movement?
It's a very difficult movement. You're countering a lot of things. You're countering the updraft from the regular winds that we get here in El Paso, which, as we all know as residents, can be a lot of wind. Then you get the downwash of the aircraft, the power of the aircraft alone, and every little movement of personnel in or out of the aircraft will affect what's called the center of gravity of that aircraft.
What are some of the rescues that you have been on where they're either in the water or in the rough terrain?
So some of the
non-U.S. citizens, of course.
Yeah, so the non-U.S. citizens in the rough terrain, what we'll end up doing is a lot of times we might land. We had a lady with a broken knee a few months ago. We landed, we did a CASEVAC. So we landed a couple hundred yards away. It was rough terrain. They got her actually to the aircraft, and then we got her over to what we call advanced life support.
So describe what that is. You essentially transport them to an area where there's medical assistance or an ambulance. What is that?
Yeah, so our aircraft are what we call CASEVAC, casualty evacuation. We're not set up for advanced life-saving care like a typical medevac would be, or an ambulance. So our goal is to get the person out of the remoteness of the desert to advanced life support care as quickly as possible. So we could be landing on a hard pack, a roadway, where there's an ambulance that meets us, or in some of the other instances, it would be where we transfer the patient onto a air evac that then will take them to a level 1 or level 2 trauma hospital.
Have you ever been in a situation where the non-U.S. citizen or the migrant is in an area that they may be posing themselves in some sort of danger and you have to essentially alert them, stay away from that area?
So we've had some situations where they've been up on peaks and mountaintops, and as they start to try to elude or evade us, we try to get their attention to stop, because we don't want them to run off the mountain where we can see that, but they can't.
The potential danger.
The potential danger, yes, sir.
Now, you also carry quite a bit of water, don't you?
We do. Each one of our aircraft is equipped usually with a pallet or 2 of water, like the Hawk behind us might have 2. The A-Stars, our workhorses, will always carry 1. And what that's for is if we come upon a group that is severely dehydrated or that look dehydrated, we can drop them water from the aircraft.
Now, you don't make contact with them, you simply drop the water?
Yeah, with the COVID situation that we have right now, and we don't want to transmit that either way, right? So, I mean, there's always a humanitarian factor, even with taking law enforcement action. We never want to lose sight of that. So we will drop water to them, even if they haven't been apprehended yet, because we don't want them to get in such a situation where they need IVs or something where they would require medical attention if we can just drop a bottle of water to them.
Yeah, and so what is the reaction? Do they thank you? Do they wave?
A lot of people will wave to us. And then, at the same time we're doing that, we're notifying Border Patrol and they're shrinking the box. But it's really, like I said, it's the humanitarian factor. We never want to lose sight of that.
Now, do you ever drop water on them when they're on the U.S. side, or do you drop water on them when they're on the Mexico side?
Only on the U.S. side.
Explain to me the situation where you can't go into the Mexico side.
Okay, so imagine a perfect line that comes up the U.S. international border, right? So we can operate on the northern side. We are restricted from operation on the southern side, unless we get prior approval from the State Department. Not saying we can't. We can, but it takes a lot of coordination. Even with our good working relationship we have with the government of Mexico, we still are restricted to our operations north of the international boundary.
Describe a scenario where you would have to ask for that permission.
If for some reason a vehicle crash occurred and somebody was pinned and trapped and they needed a CASEVAC, we could call and coordinate with the government of Mexico to where we could land and bring them north, but it would take a significant amount of communication.
How long does that take, all that communication, all that coordination, before you can finally get approval, the green light to go in there into the Mexico side and either offer assistance or, land?
It could take as quick as 15 minutes if we have the right people on the phone call. It could take as long as multiple hours.
How advanced are these aircraft? I mean, with your camera and everything else that you use as your tools, how advanced are they?
So the A-Star that's behind you has what's called an electronic optic infrared camera. So it's a daytime, nighttime camera system. It can downlink to, we have an app on your phone. We can downlink it to the phone to where if an agent on the ground, we're trying to explain something to him or her, they can actually look at what we see on the phone in real time. We also have the ability to put that across the internet to where if the chief of the Border Patrol wanted to view something we were doing, or if the EAC of Air and Marine wanted to watch what we were doing, they could log on and see in real time what we see.
They can see it as far away as Washington.
Yes, sir. We've done this when the president has come to visit. They've watched the aircraft land, Air Force One come in and land, and then, of course, we then would escort the motorcade to its locations.
That's just incredible. And how many people can you hold on this aircraft that we have behind you?
This aircraft, we configure it for like a hurricane support. I know you and I talked about hurricane support. We could have as many as 4 crew member and 8 people in the back of this aircraft.
And so have you had a situation here in the Southwest where you've had to carry that many folks?
We've had to carry multiple CASEVAC, casualty victims, but nothing to that other than training events that we've had.
And I have to ask you, why do you do it?
You know what? I do the job because I love the air, I love the machine, and I truly love the people.
All right. Director Stonehouse, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. And thank you for permitting us into your homes. This has been ABC-7 Extra Sunday edition. Good night y buenas noches.